back to Chinese Contenders Season 3. This is Week 1, Day 2. So, welcome us on the desk. We've got some big brains for you. I'm joined today by none other than Albion, head coach of British Hurricane, and the Chinese esports mastermind himself, and self-proclaimed T1W esports fan. It is Vowels. How are you both doing today?
Doing good. I'm excited for my first broadcast ever, so it's going to be an interesting day for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Vowels, yourself?
Really excited for the season of Contenders China. I'm glad to be kicking it off on opening weekend here. Unfortunately, wasn't on the desk for day one yesterday. We had some great games, and today looks like it's going to be just as exciting.
Yeah, I know you were reviewing a couple of games yesterday, weren't you? I think there were some good ones going on. A quick recap of day one. We saw some pretty dominant sweeps coming through. LGD went 4-0 versus Restart. Still looking pretty strong despite losing Gushret. Their main tank, I obviously poached to Owl, the guy who performed very, very well in the World Cup. Older Ego, they managed to snag a draw off big time Regal Gaming, but in the end, they still managed to sweep it 3-0. And last but not least, CC are looking very good to find themselves at the top of the season with a fairly dominant performance versus TSL. There were some shaky moments though, Vals. I know you had a look at that. Do you mind telling us a little bit more before we continue on today?
Yeah, Team CC are maybe still having a couple question marks about their DPS rotation. They've got Yakumo, who surprised me a little bit because I didn't think he was a particularly solid DPS player last season. He's become their mainstay DPS player, maybe has an important role in their comms. And then they're substituting Songboost, Ayu up, and K-Heart in the other role, depending on what they need for the map, what kind of composition they want to run. I feel like maybe they're still kind of finding their feet in this new line. There's a lot of potential on that roster, though. Some of the other really strong teams from yesterday, you alluded to LGD in the absence of Gusue, had a really strong showing a much less tank reliant playstyle, because obviously it's very hard to replace someone like Gusue. And then BTRG bring out that vintage Moss 7 club, off the wall, play whatever you want strategies. Again, it's a treat to see. We've had some really exciting matches yesterday, and once again, I feel like today's just going to be just as good, if not better.
Yeah, definitely. And there is a bit of a power vacuum going on at the chart at the moment. A lot of big talent has been lost to owl poaching. Anyway, the queens have gone from the chess piece and the chess board. So it'll be up to these new pawns to make their way all the way across and recrown themselves this season. But enough about the past. Let's get straight to the present. Our first game of the day will be T1W versus Lab. T1W lost Crystal after a great performance in World Cup. And now they signed Michia. Anyway, Albion. Michia's got a pretty damn good Doomfist on him. How do you think that fits into the meta and into this season of Chinese esports?
Yeah, so Michia is actually a player who you might be familiar with him from Chinese Trials. He formerly was known as Shuaiguo. He's a big Doomfist streamer in China, and he is absolutely nuts at Doomfist. You want to see a Doomfist player come flying across the entire map and instantly one-shot both supports. Well, he's the guy for you, and this is a very tank-heavy meta at the moment, and Doomfist is one of the few heroes that really can kind of find the opportunities that you kind of need to break some of these heavy tank compositions. So with a player like Misha kind of on the lineup, it can be really good for them to kind of try and fight against the meta a little bit.
Yeah, and fighting against the meta is T1W's standard, right? I mean, like last season we saw a lot. They try to reject what was going on in other regions. They were slow to adapt, but they still did very well despite regardless. Potentially Molan ran on the far. You got this far Doomfist composition, very good at shutting down tank cops. So maybe they decide not to run heavy tank compositions all the time and instead counter out the meta that we've seen so far in Chinese esports. Do you think that'll be that impactful during this match, Vals?
Definitely. I feel like Laboratory, they came through Open Division. They bought the slot of Lucky Future Zenith, so didn't actually make it through trials. Still a little bit improving against some of these tier 2 Chinese teams. Maybe letting the nerves get to him a little bit, might rely a bit more heavily on these standard tank comps. And that's where T1W is going to be able to thrive, playing the Farah, playing the Doomfist. Play these unorthodox strategies to catch the opposition a little bit off guard. And if they're a little bit nervous and not quite set in what they want to run anyway, it plays a really strong impact in the mental game, and I feel like that's where we're going to see when T1W flourish. They've been here for seasons and on end. They know the drill. They're used to it. Laboratory, much greener, still finding their feet.
Yeah, you mentioned LFZ are gone now. They were the powerhouse last season. Like they went 19-0-1 in map differential. It was absolutely insane last season. They really showed up. But with them gone now, that now there's time for new teams to make their stand, to rise to the very top of Chinese contenders. And I think T1W is one of those teams that has the potential there. Now, with Lab being such a new team filled with rookie talent, T1W, they're looking to completely turbo stomp this game, right? And if they want to set themselves as a contender here, they almost have to, right? For Lab, however, how do you think that sets up for them? Do they need to have a good showing here, or do you think there's any potential they might even win this matchup?
I think it's very unlikely they're going to win this matchup, unfortunately. T1W, like you mentioned, was one of the better teams last season. They were the only team to take Lucky Future Zenith to a 5th map in the semifinals. And Laboratory is a team of kind of unknown players. We don't know anything about these players. We're not even sure what their hero pools look like. We don't know how they're kind of approaching the meta right now. So really, this is kind of T1W series to win. And we're going to need to see Lab pulling out a stronger performance than we might have expected, because this group in Group A is kind of open for the 4th place slot. The top 3 teams are pretty clear between CC, T1W, and Lingan. So maybe Laboratory can kind of surprise us.
Absolutely. If you want to prove yourself as one of the best teams in China, you need to win these games. You need to beat up on the bad teams. And that's what we're expecting from T1W today. Being one of the best teams in China, the only team to take a map off the huge monolith that was LFC in the group stages last year, they're looking to cement their reputation and take the crown this season round. If you start dropping maps to a team that has just come up from Open Division, not even Trials, that's when the question marks are coming in. So T1W coming into this, they need to be looking at a forest stop. This needs to be a clean matchup. Laboratory, however, it's a little bit of David versus Goliath. You have an opportunity to catch people off guard, make a bit of a statement if you can take even a map off T1W, and that's what they'll be looking for. It's the underdog mentality of what do you have to lose?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Lab at best, right? If they can win a couple of matches, a couple of maps, maybe they look pretty strong coming to the season, and other teams start to be a little bit afraid of them. It gives them a confidence boost coming into this. So T1W, that they're a scary team, right? They are a scary team. They retained a lot of their roster. They have that pre-existing coalescing like team, right? Okay, they've got the teamwork already available to them. They're only missing Crystal. Our biggest question though really is, who plays that hit scan? Assassin didn't see much play last season, and we know Michia is this Doomfist player, and we've got Molanran, who was an incredible farer, but we didn't see too much of hit scans coming out from either. And now Dorado's in the map pool. Albion, how important do you think it is to have a hit scan on that map?
I think it goes even beyond just Dorado. And the map pool as well, there's like points like Hollywood for Hollywood 2nd, where Widow can make a really big impact. As much as, Doomfist and Pharah are strong right now, sometimes Widow will hit headshots, and you have to deal with that in some way. And it'll be interesting to see how they can kind of deal with that lack of a really strong hit scan player.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have our first map here. It will be Lijiang Tower. So I think we're going to pass straight over to the casters, who will be Rapture and Kenobi. They'll be taking you through the games today, and hope this will be an exciting one. So take it away, Let's.
Thanks, Blank. Welcome back, everybody. Overwatch Contenders China, Season 3, 2018. I'm Rapture here with Kenobi for Map 1 of Match 1 here of Week 1, Day 2. Kenobi, you ready to get into this one?
Ready to get into it. I'm super excited to be back here casting Chinese Contenders with you, Rapture. We were here for last season. Not as, it's a little bit more wide open this season without LFZ, as the desk mentioned, being that monolith that people have to take down. And now it's a little bit more wide open with those teams at the top. So it's anyone's game. And in this one, it looks like the desk thinks it's going to be T1Ws, but I think Laboratory has some things that might be able to shock T1W, since they're a rather unknown team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes this so exciting, is we have no idea what to expect from Laboratory. They could be an underdog team that could surprise everybody, or it could be a stop from T1W. I feel like there's no middle ground right there. We're going to see how it breaks out. We start out here on Lijiang Tower, the first phase here on Gardens. And starting out strong at Kenobi, how do you think these combinations work out for both teams?
So the T1W here is going to be playing this Doomfist Sombra. They talked about on the desk how Michia is that Doomfist player, but on the other side you have Mello, who's putting out a Doomfist of his own. So it's really going to be a battle of the Doomfist here, which Doomfist can have the most impact. But already 2 kills for the side of Laboratory.
Yeah, and all right, so 44 situation. Molon getting on the board twice, and then Illusion for another 4v3 now is Hy-B losing their mech, and that means T1W can be aggressive outside of the point, and indeed they are going to follow through, get a few more kills, and then take control of the point.
And even though Laboratory got those 2 kills, it was Moanren in the backline on that Sombra, already 2 in EMP, whereas Ash only 72%. Moanren played a little bit of Sombra towards the end of last season, and still played very good, and as they mentioned on the desk, this is a map where you would usually see him play Pharah, but still his Sombra looking very, very well on this first map, already to that EMP, and as we know, Rapture, EMP is one of those abilities where if you use it correctly, it can win a fight for you by itself.
Yep, once it hits, you get the majority of the team to be right over, right then and there. Mello jumping right into the front line there with that Doomfist, only landing a shot on the Lucio, gets put down by Hy-B, formerly unhappy from last season's Contenders. Silver now jumping right in, and an easy cleanup here for T1W.
And that was a really clutch EMP from Molanren there. Mello had gotten onto Illusion in the backline, probably would have killed him if not for that EMP, and that EMP was able to secure that point for them, but Ash has an EMP, or Hash rather, has an EMP of their own, and this could turn the fight for them and get Laboratory some percentage.
Now the problem is the Laboratory doesn't have any other ultimates to spare here, so it's just the Sombra ultimate that they're gonna be able to use. Just now, Lab since just got the nano boost, they can pop that as well, and a bunch of other characters also getting it, so Laboratory is waiting out the other ultimates to get ready, and they're getting kills as well, so it's working out. They don't even have to burn anything to get this win. They're already up with a mech down and a kill onto the Doomfist. Hy-B picking up, a great biotic grenade by Sint, finding the Lucio and D.Va as well, and T1W now has to fall back. Silver gets cut down before they were going to go off the map regardless. And T1W still in the fray nonetheless. Sky Show gets jumped down on by Doomfist. They're by themselves and they get isolated. Mello then finds Waya. And T1W, despite all that, still in control of the pointer, 80%.
Yeah, and it looked like such a good fight for Laboratory there, but Misha coming in, they talked about on this how good he was at Doomfist, got that huge double kill there to swing them into the favor, and now T1W has a very good ulticom going into this last fight. They have that EMP, and that's definitely all they need to secure this point if used correctly.
Yeah, T1W, there's the EMP coming up from Molanron right now, and there's a snowball. Misha and Hy-B picking up 2, a 6v4 situation for T1W, and they've isolated the Ana all the way at spawn. There's no heals coming out here. Seeds gets caught out there by Winston. Misha using the Doomfist ultimate to get back over to the point safely, and Mello's nano boosted, but completely unsupported. That means T1W is going to get that clean and easy wipe here. And the blade from Sky Show is not enough to touch the point in time, Kenobi. 100-0 for T1W.
And it turns out that EMP, like I said, is a very, very good ability. You had that Dragon Blade there from Sky Show, but he wasn't able to use it. The EMP came in just in time, and he's been holding on to that for a while, and having that Dragon Blade, you need to start using that. You need to have that Nano Blade ability, but when Molanren's in your backline, hacking your supports to bits, and then getting that huge EMP charge, it's really difficult for the DPS of the other side to do anything.
Kenobi, already we're going to phase 2 of Lijiang. The T1W not hesitating to put the pedal to the metal right to the floor and shutting down Laboratory before things really get started for them. How do you think Laboratory is going to have to change things up as we move over to the night market?
So it looks like Laboratory is going to be running a triple DPS comp with a solo support Ana. This is going to be very difficult for the Ana to keep everyone alive. And if he gets jumped on, it's going to pretty much end the fight. But it looks like Seeds is going to be on this Hammond. Seeds is going to try and get some disruption and farm up to that minefield very, very quickly. But he's hacked. That's the problem with going a Hammond against the Sombra. You can't do anything when you're hacked, Rapture.
Yeah, and Seeds went in by themselves, leaving the rest of the team to die as well. So a 6v4 situation for T1W is easily going to transition them into a fight win and a point capture as well. It means you're going to fall back and help capture that point here, Kenobi, and Laboratory is going to have to take that L as they lose the first fight, and they might get staggered again. Seeds is out of position by themselves, is going to get cleaned up and staggered before the fight even gets started. Seeds already going down. That's even more time wasted here for Laboratory.
It's more percentage milked off the clock too, and I mean, if you look at the ults right now, T1W is just so much closer to them than the side of Laboratory. Siege is going in a little bit too aggressive here. I'd like to see him play a little bit more with his teammates or switch onto something with like a Winston where you have a little bit more survivability against something like a Sombra.
And now Siege trying to find and does get the Sombra right in the corner. Hashi also finding one, so 6v4 situation for Laboratory, and that means they're going to walk right in through mid, and they find the Winston hiding on the right side. A nice shoulder check by Bins, and put him down for the count. And at the 34% mark, a very swift capture for Laboratory. I think T1W realized there's no point wasting time here. They fall back. They're going to get staggered a little bit, but otherwise a pretty painless loss there.
Yeah, and that was good target prioritization from Laboratory. They're getting onto Molanran and making sure that he went down first. Molanran here has been the star player for this team so far with his hacks. And another huge EMP. Misha's going to be able to go in and follow up on this, and it's just going to be a bloodbath, Rapture.
Oh, Sky Show trying to use the blade to counter things up here and try and even the odds a little bit. But unfortunately, it doesn't find much as T1W is still inside cleaning up the rest of Laboratory. And once again, Seeds out by themselves. This time they're staggered at the tail end of the fight here. Laboratory will tie things up and get a slight lead, but T1W immediately taking back control and staggering Mellow.
Yeah, they possibly will want that Dragon Blade back for this next fight. You'd already lost 2 people, so using that was just a little bit too much of a greedy play there. I think you needed to keep that for this next fight. You want to have all your ultimates, especially if you have this EMP so close. You could have EMP'd in Dragon Blade, and it would have been much, much better than Dragon Blading after 2 deaths.
A bunch of ultimates about to come online here. Hashi now has the EMP. High B with the self-destruct to try and clear out the point if necessary, but that EMP is going to be huge, and Molanran is not at theirs just yet. Laboratory has to hit a big one here. Hashi with the EMP, it only really focused on the Doomfist, while Silver gets one on Sins. Hashi will clean up the kill. Now going in away is the Genji, trying to get out, but Silver chases them down, and now trying to get revenge with that Diva. Hashi also out of position, almost gets melted. Super low HP, gets out just in time. Seeds also going down. T1W with a huge advantage on the point, and they have the self-destruct. It's going to be almost impossible for Laboratory to shoot through this without EMPs and with just the nano boost here, but since is not in position to lay it down. Now 83% on the board for T1W as they get yet another team fight win here, Kenobi, and Laboratory is now against the ropes.
Yeah, and against the ropes really hard with the 5 ultimates that you have for T1W here, and only the nano boost from Laboratory with 94% Rapture. This is last fight territory, and T1W has everything they need to win, like this EMP.
Yeah, I think the EMP is going to shut them down before they even really get to touch the point here, Kenobi. Just the entire kitchen sink and then some being thrown out by T1W. They have so many ults to spare, and they're not being conservative with them at all. And just like that, Laboratory doesn't even stand a chance to stay on the point. T1W taking a convincing map 1 on Lijiang Tower.
Very, very convincing there from T1W, as you mentioned. And something that was really interesting is the Sombra play coming out from both teams. Molanran seemed to really understand and has really worked on his Sombra play. He did play it in the last season towards the end and played very, very well. But now it seems like it's just even better than it was before. No longer just a Pharaoh one trick. He can play whatever, and was using those EMPs, charging them effectively, using them against multiple targets. Where on the other side, they were using them to solo EMP the Doomfist, which, you know, you get the Doomfist out of the fight. But when on the other side, those EMPs are hitting 3, 4, 5 targets, you're just going to be getting more value.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the timing on Molanran's EMP in the middle of that second phase of Lijiang, hitting everyone right inside the ramen spot. I mean, that's a perfectly placed EMP, as opposed to, like you said, against that one single Doomfist. Ultimates used, but they're not being used super effectively, super efficiently. What would be one change, Kenobi, after seeing Lijiang, that you'd like to see from T1W's opponents to try and change things up going into map 2?
I'd like to see Laboratory play more as a team. And while, you know, Overwatch is a team game, and that sounds weird, going back to the EMP discussion, whenever EMPs were coming out from Molanran, always there was the Silver 3 was just jumping in behind them, Hybe jumping in behind them to follow up. And when the EMPs on the other side, they just weren't happening. And it was a little bit of a compositional, unfortunately, change for them that they didn't really make, because you needed to have that Winston or that Diva to kind of just go back and help you follow up with the damage on the EMP. While Sombra does have a lot of damage, you can't kill everyone by yourself in that EMP. So I'd like to see a little bit more team play and a little bit more follow-up from the damage coming out from the DPS of Laboratory.
Well, there's still a lot of opportunity to change things up here, folks. We still have a few more maps to get through in this set. T1W is up 1-0, and we still have 3 more maps to go. Don't go anywhere. On the other side of this break, more Chinese Contenders Season 3 2018. We coming your way here at Broadcast.gg.
Of fame, kill the crows that point the blame. Our voices
Welcome back, everybody, to our matchup between T1W Esports and Laboratory here in Chinese Contenders Season 3, 2018, Week 1, Day 2. I'm Rapture, back here with Kenobi, going into Map 2 between these two teams, and it will be Numbani. So you speak it, it will come. I know a lot on the desk was talking about it before the game, I think even during the desk. Numbani. We are seeing it here. Kenobi, we just saw T1W take a very convincing 2-0 victory on Lijiang Tower. Now going into Numbani, any expectations?
Well, they did sub in Assassin here for Micha, so it looks like that means to me that they're going to be trying to bring in some hit scan presence on this map. You know, Soldier just got that buff recently with his spread, and maybe we'll see him play on that, on that Soldier, maybe some more hit scanny things, but it looks like actually he's going to be playing on the Honda, so maybe they don't want the Doomfist. They're flexing it up a little with Assassin. We didn't see Assassin too much last season. It was just mostly Crystal because honestly, who's going to replace Crystal? The guy's just a freaking monster. So it's going to be interesting to see how T1W is going to approach this. They're going to be bringing out the Pharah. Molenren, I'm so excited to see him on this new Pharah that we just got the changes for last year, his signature hero, and now back on it with these changes. He's going to be an absolute monster, I bet.
Yeah, of course, having that Pharah with the, the much rapid rate of fire can certainly work out for you if you want to isolate heroes and get them down really quickly. And we'll see how it works on Numbani. I mean, Numbani is a map notorious for so many places where the defense can take cover. So this Pharah is definitely going to be looking to take cover as often as possible on this Pharah, not get picked off. And really, they have to worry about not too many options. Laboratory doesn't have like an immediate hit scan option to take out the Pharah, so we'll see what Laboratory can do against this Pharah option. Seeds again going in very quickly, followed up by the Doomfist, and Ella does get the kill on Assassin. First blood there for Laboratory. They will push that advantage and push back Molenron as well. And with this high ground advantage held by the Zarya and the Ana, there's a ton of support being thrown into Laboratory as the front line pushes the one winner all the way off the point. And look at that, Kenobi. Almost a completely different team here. Laboratory taking a very swift point A.
That's the follow-up I wanted to see. Siege goes in onto the high ground and pile drives, and then immediately right after, Mello is there with that seismic slam on that Doomfist to get the rest of the kills that they need, and then they were able to snowball Molenren getting a little bit too low to the ground, and now he's going to be switching over to something like the Brigitte to try and deal with Siege, and as you see, it works to perfection already with Assassin on the McCree as well. A lot of CC now for the side of T1W to deal with these flankers.
Yeah, and Seeds again, just like we saw in Lijiang Tower, going down very early, but at this point, Laboratory can afford to lose a hero or two as the payload goes, past that first corner on phase 2 here of Numbani. There's Mello diving right in, sees the Bree is half health, but can't go any further than that, falls back. As she goes down, Seeds does get the revenge of Molenron now, and sees another DMAC there. High B got knocked down and completely slaughtered there. They get taken out. Certainly not, not happy, not unhappy anymore. Here's the blade coming out from Skyshow. It's Nano Booster as well, but stunned by the McCree. Still can't clean things up, and there's a Transcendence in the way. Skyshow has to fall back and almost getting cut down by Waya, who has their sights on him but can't find the kill. Siege trying to body block a little bit as Skyshow gets back, and Siege will take the fall. Hashi also going down. Assassin certainly living up to their name right now, picking off heads left and right. Mello then coming down, crushing. We'll take that Meteor Strike, was just trying to disrupt things. They actually get 2 kills. Long run on Skyshow. Mello with another one, demecking High B again. Bins will find High B as they get popped out of the cockpit. The Laboratory will clean things up and keep that payload rolling.
You don't want to be in a confined area against the Doomfist Meteor Strike. Gets the huge double kill, and then Mello is able to follow up. It looked like in that last fight, Waya was going to be the hero, but Mello, with the huge Doomfist play, is able to clean up 3 kills, and they're able to push it to that second point. Laboratory looking like a different team, Rapture, than they did on that first map, and it looks so much better. And going into this next fight with that Graviton, they might be able to push this all the way to the end of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. And since it's getting closer and closer to a nano boost as well, should be able to sync up again with Skyshow for their next Dragon Blade. And meanwhile, now getting aggressive here is T1W. Going to push right up here, trying to cut off Laboratory at their knees here. Graviton comes out, sucking T1W all together, but there's no follow-up to get those kills. And the Dragon Blade Nano Boost combo is not there just yet. Now the Dragon Blade's popped by Skyshow, finds Assassin. Ability's not there to get away. Skyshow, another one onto the Bree. Gets 3!
Oh my
God! 3.5! Seeds also throwing down a minefield, and of course that Diva gets DMAC'd right into it. Laboratory with another cleanup here at 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Who is this Laboratory team? They look so good on this map. The dive coming in, the perfect Nano Blade coming out from Skyshow there. Hash getting really low, but this is the last fight right here for T1W. They need to hold this.
Oh, Assassin with an awkward position, trying to use the high noon to get some leverage there for T1W. All they do is get shut down by Laboratory. Skyshow finds him. Oh, the payload getting uncomfortably close to the end of the map there. T1W has to touch, and that means that they have to clump up a little bit. Skyshow now trying to reflect things back. They have to fall back too. And then the anti-grenade demeching the Diva there, and High B does have to get back to the cockpit soon, but they have time. Laboratory is pushed back finally here by T1W.
Yeah, and you definitely take that if you're Laboratory. You were able to force out the sound barrier onto just 3 people because Skyshow was so close to killing a couple people. So you force out that you force out that sound barrier, and now the EMP is ready. There's the Dragon Blade ready as well. The Nano Blade, they could definitely just push this all the way to the last point.
Oh, and T1W has to be careful. They have no idea. Ashley's sitting right behind them with the EMP, and Skyshow diving right in with the Nano boosted Dragon Blade. Everyone's set up easily on a platter and skewered by Skyshow. It's too easy. You can't hide behind that barrier, Silver. Laboratory going down left and right and getting those kills left and right, and T1W getting bodied there at the end of the map. An absolutely great combination by Laboratory, and they will complete on Numbani.
And just to put this into perspective, T1W, this is the team where last season they were basically the second best team in all of probably Chinese contenders, and now they're being taken to task by this huge triple DPS dive composition coming out from Laboratory. It's absolutely phenomenal how well they've been playing it on this map. I mentioned at the start on point A, when you have Seeds go in, and then you have the follow-up from Mellow, and just the ult economy and the ult usage, perfection from Laboratory, the Nano Blades on point, the EMPs to be followed up with the Seismic Strikes, and the Doomfist play from Mellow. It's just absolutely phenomenal to watch this team look like a completely different team than we saw in that first map.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you just need that one map to warm up. Other times it's just maybe Control's not your game type. And I feel like their strategy of using Seeds to just pretty much unabashedly sacrifice themselves to create space for their 3 DPS seems to be working better on a longer map of Numbani, where things were a little more close together on Lijiang Tower, right, in Control, where you're constantly in a scrappy fight. Not as effective. But here, where you can get these longer paths for your 3 DPS to build up, ult charge and poke a little easier, all of a sudden your Hammond getting super, out by themselves is pretty good. And sure, they lose their body a couple times, but they're building so much room, so much space for their 3 DPS to use. Kenobi, yeah, this strategy right now for Laboratory, they're testing things out, and the results are coming back positive.
And not even in that too, but not as well as that, you have that there's these 3 DPS, these 3 dive DPS plus Seeds on that Hammond. You can only CC 1 or 2 of them depending on the composition you have, so the rest of the team is able to follow up. And now for T1W, they're going to be going to what they played a little bit last season. They're going to be playing this dive with the Hanzo and the Pharah. Molenrin didn't really do much on that Pharah last time, got screwed at the start of the map and ended up switching over to Brigitte, but now he's on this Pharah, going to try and pump out a lot of damage, and hopefully he's able to live.
Gotta pump it up, Prada Plant style out here. Mellow now getting into this back corner with the Zarya supporting him on the right side. Oh, Illusion completely destroyed there. Seeds gets the kill, but that Doom is right there waiting for it as well. Assassin up here, super low, and gets cut down by Hashley. Molenron finds Seeds as well. Hashley now going up into the right side here, putting some damage down again, just as we saw last map, doing all this unadulterated damage here, unmitigated in the backline. Finally, Molenron gets their sights on, but realizing that they're gonna fall back inside, reads that, but still can't get the shots as the cover is taken by the Somber. Hashley though gets
read!
Oh, what a shot! Great play there. And Molenron just continuing to rain damage from above. Seeds does get their touch, but Seed is super low, and almost great block there, using the self bubble to just body block for the Hammond. Great play there, but Zarya bins. And still T1W pushing this up. Meanwhile, the payload will be taken by out from Laboratory. Should be okay.
I mean, Molenrin is just absolutely popping off right now on this Pharah. Is able to get that huge triple kill in that first point. Was able to read the Somber going through the other, going through the high ground and coming out that one side. But Molenrin definitely now is showing how good he is on this hero. And T1W is going to be looking to take this to second point here with a good amount of ultimates to their name. Probably about to have a 5-pack.
Definitely, hitting the gym, Kenobi. So 5-pack is, I would like that. Mellow now going in, trying to disrupt here as Hash is getting set up for the EMP, and Mellow is about to have the Meteor Strike as well. Since on the Nano boost, so once Skyshow gets that Dragon Blade, it's going to be thrown onto them for sure. Molenron has the barrage and immediately lets it loose. He gets left, but Since didn't see it coming and gets caught out before Molenron gets and takes a nap. Skyshow will cut right through Molenron, but Since gets killed, so they're not going to combo. Skyshow also put down by Assassin. And T1W, just like we saw with Laboratory, in full control of the payload on offense.
And that's the definition of we take those Rapture. You got the Ana out of the fight, you got slept, and you sacrificed your body. But here, Hash has this EMP. They're going to try and contest. Seeds goes in. Is he going to use it right now? Mello is here. They're trying to contest this last point, Rapture.
Yeah, and Hashi with that EMP should be able to jump right back into the fray if things get hairy. Here comes the Dragon Blade, but the Transcendence came out just a split second beforehand from Waya. Perfectly timed, shuts down the Dragon Blade and Nano Boost Dragon Blade completely, 100%. The high B will get DNEC by Skyshow the tail end of it. It's certainly not enough to win the fight outright. Silver gonna use the Primo Raids to keep them on the point here. Laboratory with a kill, but Molenron gets another on Mello. Still a ton of damage from above, and really just a Zarya can contest it, but they are dealing with a Winston in their face, and Bins will go down. T1W in control, and they get that second checkpoint.
Yeah, they get the second checkpoint, and really they're the hero of that last fight. Again, has to be Molenren. It looks so dire with the 3 ultimates coming out from the Laboratory, but Molenren was able to keep a cool head, stay in the air, and was able to survive, and then pump out the damage from above without anyone to counter him. And now T1W going into this last point, not the same amount of ultimates that they had. They might need to throw a couple of econ pushes here, but you do have Bins here, who is very, very close to that grab, and we might see the Meteor Strike combo with it.
Yeah, I feel like Laboratory might need to change up the composition here, but if they do, they'll lose all their ult charge, and at this point in the map, you don't want to be doing that. Mello diving back in to join the rest of the team here. T1W has the high ground advantage, but they also have the backline as well. Silver and Hybe harassing that backline, making it impossible for Laboratory to sit comfortably. Now a 6v4 situation for T1W right at Laboratory spawn. And they have the self-destruct, so if everyone coalesces on the payload immediately, they'll be dispersed by that self-destruct. And Molenron has the barrage, a burst option to throw down. Certainly going to try and get it to Sins, but Sins uses the Nano Boost before they have the option. There's the EMP from Hashi up above, but there's no follow-up. Skyshow doesn't have the Dragon Blade there in time to get to the Graviton. Hash will get 2. And that should be enough to hold up T1W, but the self-destruct, there it is, like I called out earlier, will get everyone off the point. Skyshow gets caught by it. Waya,
he's got back.
Completely unmitigated, up on the high ground, great positioning, and they're almost able to clean up Hayashi, but it doesn't matter. No one's there to touch the point, despite the kills coming out from the Laboratory. They're not on the payload, so it gets completed.
Yeah, and Waya has been, throughout this entire map, has been living on the edge. It must be so hard as a Zenyatta to play against a composition like this, but the best thing about Waya and the rest of T1W is they're keeping him alive, and he's been dove on countless times, but he's being able to stay alive, whether it's with his own positioning, whether it's him just fragging out and getting the kills onto the diving DPS. Waya's staying alive, you keep the healing, you keep that ability to farm the Transcendence and have that Discord Orb to melt the enemy team. I really like that Waya and the rest of T1W are making sure that he stays alive and keeping him up in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a huge difference. You saw how often that Sins was getting like jumped on or, you know, isolated, whereas Waya like very rarely, and was like almost always available with the Transcendence ready to go for any time Skyshow had the nano boosted Dragon Blade. So I mean, right now T1W staying alive. The longer you stay alive, the more likely you're going to be around to stop the fight or, you know, shut it down. So yeah, overall Laboratory, I mean, they really didn't have much leverage with this composition. It worked out for them on offense, but on defense, completely fell apart.
Yeah, and speaking for T1W, you have this composition again, the same one that we saw, a little bit of a variation. We did see them bring out the Orisa on that first point, but now it looks like they're going to try and match dive with dive. If they're able to dive onto the backline and perhaps get Sins out of the way, since he's the only healer, that might be exactly what they need to turn the fight and make this DPS composition not worth as much.
Yeah, I mean, Molenron's certainly going to be looking to get rid of that Ana, shut down the nano boost before it gets charged up, and going to be feeding ult charge off of Seeds, surely, as Seeds will be putting themselves out in the front line pretty often to, you know, body block and create a little bit of real estate for Laboratory, but at the cost of giving up ult charge for T1W. And Assassin now on the Tracer in the back line. We don't see too much Tracer these days, but going to be pulling it out here to make it even more uncomfortable for the back line for Laboratory. As you can see, Laboratory now trying to hold the high ground, but the staircase is almost impossible to get through. Molenron is just shoving missiles right through that corridor, but finally using the bubble. Laboratory is able to break through. Mello diving all the way in, but by themselves is going to get shut down and pushed back by Molenron. So their effectiveness goes down. Now Seeds by themselves also trying to disrupt the high ground. This one by one strategy of Laboratory not paying off quickly as they're just isolated and taken out by Molenron and Silver. Hybe getting knocked back. Mello trying to face off against the Tracer and D.Va. That's not going to work out. T1W forcing 2v1 and 3v1 situations here that take out Laboratory one by one.
And again, this is the T1W keeping Waya alive. The dive came in there, but Hybe with the perfect perfect Diva Matrix to keep him alive, barely at a little bit of health, and was able to stop Mello and Seeds from getting onto him and killing him in the backline, because if Wyatt had died, that would be a lot of healing that you lose. And now Mulligan's going to take a fight with this Sombra here, is able to get him, so Hash is gone. They're going to have to wait a little bit longer to push this point Rapture.
I mean, that's the thing, is that like Molinron can go in because he knows that he has the Mercy right there boosting him. He has one or two other players always with him to help out. Laboratory is getting caught out by themselves too often for them to really win a fight handedly here, and they're still struggling to get their ultimates together. They are getting closer and closer to a full team of ultimates. They only have 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the clock, so if they lose this next fight, their opportunity to win this map drastically goes down. And Molinron now trying to get proactive here, looking for some sightlines. The barrage is ready to go in his pocket. Mello just got the meteor strike, completely clobbers that Ana. Both teams losing their Ana there, so pretty even trade. Silver finds Bins as well. The meteor strike is also going to whiff, and then Silver's right there. A great play too, landing as the Doomfist landed to get that extra damage on that Winston combo. And then Silver just going off by themselves, literally just hunting down everybody with that Mercy damage boost, and it's paying off. T1W completely shutting down Laboratory and having Mello change from the Doomfist over to the Widowmaker.
Yeah, and now for T1W, you didn't really use that many ultimates. You used the Valkyrie and the Nano Boost, but on the other side, you have so many ultimates for T1W. You have the 3 incoming, but Laboratory, oh, it looks like we had a disconnect there at the end, so it looks like we're going to be going to a little bit of a pause, some technical difficulties coming in.
All right. Well, I guess Laboratory should be pretty happy about that, I guess, because if anything, trying to ice T1W for a second.
That's not the play. That's not the play against probably arguably one of the best teams in China right now. Don't ice the kicker. That's not what I would say to do.
That is, wow, that was really unfortunate there for both teams, but certainly for Laboratory, who had just about a minute to go on that offensive push. They lost an EMP. Yeah, that's not a good look. T1W probably pretty happy with that one, unfortunately, for Laboratory. But I mean, at that point, the map was already going their way, and this could even further push it in their favor. T1W could potentially be up 2 maps after this one, and certainly a great start for them here in week 1.
And I really liked from T1W their ability to adapt and react to what Laboratory was bringing. Laboratory hasn't really switched up their composition too much throughout these maps. They've been running the same, triple DPS, Hammond, Zarya rather, in the Ana as the solo healer. And on defense, the first time they brought out, an Orisa, a little bit more of a bunker style comp where you sit on the higher ground and just try your best to mitigate as much damage as possible. But against that team, it was very difficult. And now on that second point, on the second defense that they had after getting rolled over, they brought out some different compositions. They brought out more of a dive. They put Silver 3 onto the Winston. Winston was able to get into the back line instead of Orisa, who kind of just sits up there on that high ground and shields and shoots. That's really all you kind of do at that point and pull. But bringing Silver 3 onto that Winston, we saw he got a huge 3K because when the dive came in, he's able to counter dive onto Since. And Since he's the only healer, and Ana is the only healer. Once that guy goes down, it's very, very difficult for the rest of the team to sustain.
Yeah, honestly, I think the problem here is that you have one tank who's a Hammond who's always going to be going like very aggressively ahead of the rest of your team. You don't have any tanks to peel for your support line. So they're going to get constantly harassed in the back line by like Tracer, all these other characters that can, Doomfist, who can jump right in, Winston, who can jump right in and easily shut down an Ana, for example. You saw how many times Since is going down, before they're able to throw out a nano boost. That's because, they don't have a tank to peel for them, really. We'll see, though, if they can change things up. We're going to take a quick break, and hopefully when we come back, at least the remainder of map 2, potentially, we'll see that. Regardless, we'll see the rest of the series on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. More of Contenders China Season 3 2018 coming your way here at Broadcast.gg. All right, I'm ready.
Yep.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are back in game for the remainder of Numbani. Sorry for the jarring re-entry here. We have about 30 seconds left on the clock for Laboratory, and they unfortunately lost a lot with that DC there. So no DLC for them, only DC, and it was for free. And we'll see what they can do with literally 10 seconds left on the clock here with very little to show for it. They don't have a nano boost for this Dragon Blade, and they lose Ana. All right. Mello does pick up Moron, though, but Moron got rid of the Ana, which I think was a pretty big pickup there. Better than losing your Farah.
Oh, the deflect.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge. Waya can't keep themselves alive against that reflect. Hybe also getting D-mech there. And not going to be able to stay alive, though he has the self-destruct. At least get back into the fray very quickly there. And Silver now with the Primal Rage will be able to pop that when necessary. Illusion goes down. Assassin uses the Pulse Bomb, but whips it on the Zarya. Still able to get the kill nonetheless. Bins goes down. T1W in full control here. Laboratory trying to hold on, but the Primal Raging Winston's too much to deal with for this Hammond, who's just trying to ping-pong their way around.
He has another minefield.
Yeah, but at that point, no one's stepping on those mines. T1W through the disconnect gets the remainder of Numbani, and looks like they will get, or let's stop Laboratory, and we're gonna get out and see the rest of this map cleaned up here. Kenobi, it should be T1W in full control. They have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to just take a portion of point A. The writing is on the wall for Laboratory. It's certainly a huge mountain to climb if they want to take or like do a complete hold here on point A.
Yeah, and you know, say what you want about Mello and like Laboratory, how they've been playing the same thing. Mello at the end of that fight had some really good Widow shots. He got the huge jump shot there, and then at the end got that shot onto the Tracer. And it looks like they're going to be sticking with Mello on this Widowmaker. As we know, Widowmaker on Dorado has, you know, you can do some really cool things with the sightlines that you get. And Mello seems to know a little bit about this character, so a little bit of a switch up here coming from Laboratory, whereas T1W, if this stays, it looks like they're going to be staying with just a classic dive here, and Laboratory actually going to be switching over to the Brigitte, so some adaptation coming out from Laboratory here.
Well, yeah, true, but at this point, it's better late than never, I would say.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Better late of Numbani map 2 to finally do it, and I mean, still though they're running this 3 DPS, 2 tank, 1 support composition. The core of it, right? Like the structure is still the same. They're just changing it up to throw Mello back onto the Widowmaker here. But you know, at this point, I mean, you know, they have these 2 very mobile tanks, right? They gotta be there to help Since. They have to peel for Since. If Since goes down,
it's over
for Laboratory. Exactly. So they got to keep that Ana alive. That's the win condition here for Laboratory here. And Molanron already getting pressured hard by the Diva. They're on the Genji now instead of the Farah, and they're using this super extreme mobility. They have the Tracer and the Genji. They're doing just full dive here for T1W. Laboratory. Let's see how they can, you know, hold up against that. Seeds does get rid of Waya, but Seeds now gonna have to stay alive themselves and not build up too much ult charge to the other team. Assassin will find Bin. Sky Show gets Illusion. Assassin putting down some pressure on the backside of Genji here, but it's not gonna dissuade them from putting more shots down. Sky Show already halfway to a Dragon Blade of all that damage they've done. And now 2 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock here for T1W.
Yeah, the dive there not as crisp and clean from T1W. It seems like they were caught in 2 minds. You know, where should we dive? Should we be diving the Widow? Should we be diving Since on that Ana? And then Lab says, or C says rather, I'm not going to let you make that decision. I'm just going to go into your backline. I'm going to pile drive. And now Molanran is hacked here. He is going to be able to stay alive, but Laboratory getting close to a couple of ultimates. They do have that nano.
Assassin gets put. Oh no! Oh, there's Matrix! Oh my God! Mello is like, oh, free kill. Nope. Gets completely.
That was nuts.
Gets taken away. Great Matrix. Molanron now putting some more shots on. 2 minutes on the clock for T1W. And in that last fight, they got so much percentage there. It was working out great. Assassin D-Mex with that pulse bomb. And Laboratory clinging on for dear life here. Literally a smidgen left for T1W to capture the point. But a great play, EMP.
They're so close.
1-2 combo for Laboratory. They're still alive. T1W doesn't capture the point. And they still have to do it with 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock with Laboratory still control.
How did they manage that? The EMP from Hash there, so clutch at the end, was able to get Waya, and Waya could not hit that Transcendence. Huge play there and huge clutch EMP coming out from Hash. And now for the side of the Laboratory rather, you still have that Genji blade that you can use to in this next fight.
All of a sudden, Laboratory could come out of this with a map win here. Sky Show though gets repelled so hard. And again, Waya with the Transcendence just for good measure against that Dragon Blade. Bins, though, with the self-destruct, finds Assassin. They couldn't get the cover in time, which, considering Numbani, they should be able to get the cover. And Silver waiting it out to get to that Widowmaker, wait for that cooldown there. Then gets shut down. Hack trying to stay alive. High B with a kill on this. Vince is dead again, trying to disrupt. Here's the Hammond, and High B does get D-Mag. Now Mullen Run, getting closer and closer to a Dragon Blade. Billy has so much ult charge off of that Hammond, who gets cut down by High B. Now 40 seconds remaining on the clock here. EMP from above, but Hashi gets cut down immediately. And that is it. Laboratory cannot weather the storm there. T1W take another map, and now they're up 2-0.
Laboratory, they're making it closer than I think anyone would have expected, and the desk mentioned it. These are the teams that you have to really start to, you have to really beat if you're the side of T1W and want to be shown as one of the best teams in the region. But Laboratory bringing out some interesting compositions with that triple DPS and the solo healing. It worked on that first point. They were able to roll over. T1W, great job for them adapting to what Laboratory was going to be bringing out. And Laboratory, towards the end of that map, started adapting themselves. So Laboratory, this team that was rather unknown, I think everybody now knows who they are with that composition they just brought out.
Absolutely. And even through the DC, they were still holding on. That could have gone their way. They were only 40 seconds or so away from actually winning that map. I think just losing so much percentage in the previous fight really hurt them in the long run. They gave up so much percentage. It easily set up T1W to get to the rest one. But we have 2 maps to break down and then some. We're going to throw it over the desk to see what they have to say. So Blank and the rest, why don't you take it away?
We're muted. Don't worry about it. We're muted. I get this all the time. I'm not immune to the mute bug. It's still with me. It plagues me to this day. But I'm Blank. Here's the rest. It's Vals and Albion, as Rapture mentioned. We're going to go back a little bit, though. I know we did Numbani, but we're going to go back to Lijiang, break that down a little bit, because that was a very, very quick map, almost insanely quick. Basically, Night Market went over in a blink of an eye, right? But Albion, what did you think of this Monohill composition? They've been playing it pretty much all the time. Also, the Blade came out early. There was no Nano on top. It just kind of fell apart after that.
Yeah. So Lab has made it very clear that this is kind of the way that they're going to play the game right now. Whether they've decided that these are their comfort picks, or they've decided that this is the specific way they want to approach the meta, or even how they want to play T1W in particular. But at the very least, we're seeing that this is very clearly something they have thought out. But unfortunately, despite the fact that they have thought it out, maybe they missed some steps along the way. Because realistically, the composition has some pretty large flaws. We saw it a little bit on Numbani, where when you come up against a lot of spam heroes, you don't have anything to block damage. But especially on Koth maps, when you lose that first fight and you have no actual tank, right? All you have is Zarya bubbles. That is the single defensive tool you have. You don't have Sound Barrier, you don't have Transcendence, you don't have shields. And suddenly, if you lose that first fight, if you make any mistake there, you have to retake against a composition that has all of those tank abilities, and they have the ability to actually hold the ground. So in King of the Hill in particular, that comes always going to suffer really hard.
Yeah, they definitely a really, really tough time. And they were putting a lot of resources into Michia. And I think it's understandably why the guy was just popping off all the time. That was the last we saw him on Lijiang as we moved into Numbani. But Val's, all these resources that they were just pummeling into Michia. You had the Sombra always trying to hack him. And then we had the enabling going on our team. How do you think that affected the matchup? And do you think they could have played it differently?
Well, it obviously worked out for T1W being able to take Lijiang in a pretty decisive manner. Maybe you do make some alterations in playstyle, putting all your resources into trying to just take out Micha. It's not working because T1W is just putting all their resources into keeping him alive as well. So maybe you start switching a hack focus. Hash, I know Albion was a little bit disappointed in some of his choices of hacks. Maybe you could be starting to focus on tanks more so you can whittle them down. Misha can't kill your entire team if the rest of his team is dead. So that's where maybe you make some of these alterations. Start focusing T1W's tanks and supports a little bit more, kind of cut the legs away from under Assassin, Michu, and Molanran, so they don't have the support to pocket them and keep them alive. Maybe these are the alterations we need to be seeing from Laboratory. Certainly towards the end when they were a little bit more tank oriented, trying to get their hacks onto Hybe and onto Silver, it was playing out a little bit more effectively. They were a little bit more competitive against T1W than what we saw in Lijiang.
Yeah, Numbani was a massive map, which was a ton of momentum coming off from that first point take. We are going to go to a quick break. However, we will be back shortly. Don't you guys worry, and don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. We're jumping in hot to map 3 of Hanamura between these two teams, T1W and Laboratory. T1W is up 2-0 after convincing victories on Lijiang and Numbani. Now we're heading over to Hanamura to keep things going. Will T1W get the full sweep, or can Laboratory get a stick in their wheel, a stick in their spokes, and shut things down? But as we've already got into it, Laboratory, just like we saw Numbani, a swift capture on point A within a minute, have already gotten 2 ticks and then some.
Yeah, I mean, the way that Val said it on the desk was the best. You can't contest the point when your enemies are dead, and that seems to be the motto for Laboratory here. As Mello gets the huge kill on the Silver 3, this might just be a formality here at the end, but there is that kill from Molenran onto Mello.
Yeah, T1W trying to get a little crowd control worked into the point here before Laboratory can capture it, and it's actually working out here. Laboratory still has not actually captured the point, and without their tanks, it's hard for them to bolster this front line against T1W. And there's a hack there. SkyShow can't follow through with the Dragon Blade, does get an assassin, but Molenran shuts him down. Now this time we're trying to stay alive. Hashi, Molenran goes down to Since, and Laboratory is unable to actually confirm the point here. They should be able to do it on the tail end of the slice. T1W is losing reinforcements left and right, and finally Seeds will clean up Silver, but it took a little bit of pressure from Laboratory to finally get point A.
A scrappy fight from both teams there, but it looks like Laboratory comes out as the winner. And going into this next point, they have a couple of ultimates to their name. They're gonna have the Meteor Strike, and they're gonna have this Minefield, but unfortunately, T1W does have this EMP, and as we know from Molenran, he's been huge with these EMPs so far, and this might be exactly what T1W needs to stop the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, not only that, they're about to get all 3 support ultimates for T1W, so it's going to be so hard for the Laboratory to chew through this T1W team. The EMP completely catches Mello and Bins off guard, and Since also gets caught in the crossfire out here. 6v3 situation for T1W, and they're just going to, Molenran just jukes out SkyShow, breaking ankles. And Laboratory gets completely pulverized by T1W. That stops their momentum completely.
And there it is, cool as you like. The EMP comes out and you're able to win that fight, get the kills you need. But Laboratory here, again, they're starting to farm up their ultimates. They have the Graviton now, and only on the other side with T1W, look out for these double support ults here. If Hash, though, can get this EMP before those come out, that might be exactly what they need, because if you can't get those support outs during the grab, you're going to be ready for the Space Jam combo here.
Space Jam. Hopefully that sequel comes out soon. Oh, the Graviton, and Matrix is not there from the Diva to stop the Graviton, but the follow-up from Laboratory is completely non-existent. Bins gets cut down by Assassin, and just like that, the T1W easily getting kills on Laboratory. Mello using a Meteor Strike and almost paying the ultimate price for it, is able to get that Mega just in time. But T1W, again, another team fight win, and they barely burn resources to take it.
Perhaps a little bit of a miscommunication from Laboratory there. The grab was out and it was huge, but the follow-up just wasn't there from the DPS. SkyShow and Hash nowhere to be seen there, and Mello as well ended up using that Meteor Strike and not getting too much value. So a little bit of miscommunication coming out from them, but they do have some ultimates for this next fight, but so does T1W.
Oh, and Mello getting, trying to put some pressure on the Diva and almost gets baited out too far. Thankfully doesn't get too greedy for their own britches, so they're able to stay alive. Hash jumping up, trying to use the telelocator to use that EMP, but instead falls back, not going to burn it. Waya with the Transcendence up against again. I mean, once I saw the Transcendence from Waya, I knew that SkyShow was using a Dragon Blade somewhere. Waya has had a Transcendence for every single Dragon Blade in this set, the entire set from SkyShow, and shut down yet again as Laboratory, as they're having trouble getting onto the point. They've lost over 2 minutes on this offensive push on point B, and T1W still has ultimates to spare.
And it's really good all patience from here from T1W as well, only using that Transcendence to counter SkyShow's Dragon Blade there, and we're able to win the fight for themselves. But here they're actually going to be switching over Siege to that Brigitte, so now we're going to be seeing a solo tank diva, and we're going to be seeing Brigitte as maybe this pseudo off tank as well. Maybe Mello going to be moving over to that main tank role, because Doomfist does have a lot of that sustain.
Oh, Hashi goes waiting out, doesn't want to show that they have the Somber Hole in the EMP, but I think, yeah, Mullenron saw it and gets the EMP out before that sash he can use there. Great play by Mullenron, gets the scouting information and the EMP off, setting up T1W for the easy cleanup from Laboratory. The EMP from Hashi is not only it comes out, but it gets completely shut down. Oh no! Sky Show with the D-back and 2-piece from the Blade. But it ends up getting, ends up being wasted. I mean, they get the 2 hype kills, but they burn an ultimate unnecessarily.
A flashy play there from SkyShow, but you mentioned it. It's now really value towards getting that objective point. It's great in solo queue when you're getting those highlight plays, but here in Chinese Contenders, you really need to be using these ultimates to value and get those objectives. And here Laboratory is struggling a little bit with that, using that Nano Blade when you had already basically lost the fight. So I really want to see Laboratory clean up this ult usage, because T1W is doing an immaculate job so far with theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now another high ground push here for Laboratory. They get bounced back. A Meteor Strike coming out. That's going to land on the high ground here. Trying to get the top of the staircase. Not going to get killed. T1W still controlling the kill feed here. Silver putting pressure, keeping the Somber away from the rest of Laboratory, making this cleanup, facilitating this cleanup for T1W, and it comes through yet again.
And really good job there from Illusions with that sound barrier. As soon as he heard the Meteor Strike come out, he sound barriered. That means that Doomfist can't burst through all of that shielding that he gave to his team, and they were able to clean up the fight after that. Again, only using one ult, when on the other side, you're using these big DPS ults and not getting any value out of them. But here, Laboratory starting to get more ultimates to their name again. Hash very close again to EMP, and we could see the EMP Nano Blade combo for them to push through this fight.
Yeah, Laboratory really scrambling here. Almost no footing on the point whatsoever. They've lost so much time, Kenobi. Remember, Laboratory had like 6 minutes on the clock here. The EMP to self-destruct right there in the back line. And it's a 3K, 3.5. The EMP self-destruct combination is smooth as butter. And T1W again clobbering Laboratory, and Mello now changing. Mello's in the McCree. I mean, Laboratory is really scrambling to figure out something that'll work against T1W.
Immaculate timing coming out from T1W in their ultimate usage. They throw out, the dive comes in from Silver 3 to disorient the team. Then the EMP comes in right when Hy-Vee had used his self-destruct, and they were able to clean up with that huge triple kill in that confined space. Great job from T1W, again, using their ultimates and getting so much value.
Yeah, and Laboratory, they have some ultimates to use going into this last fight, but T1W, I mean, Waya has the Transcendence. You know that's going to be used against the EMP draw. Oh, well, Mello's, yeah, the Dragon Bladed, the now boosted Dragon Blade. Then Mello, still halfway to a high noon. That might not be something they can rely on going into this next fight, but having that on the high ground would be great to try and cut through T1W, see how it works out for them. T1W sitting on ultimates themselves. Now just over 30 seconds left on the clock for Laboratory, and they are slowly making their way up onto the high ground, but they're going to use Hash, they use the EMP, and set up SkyShow for the Dragon Blade. He goes and gets 1, gets 2. Both supports, 3 supports going down here for Laboratory. T1W, can they stay alive through the rest of this fight? They lost the first point. 20 seconds left on the clock, and Laboratory finally cutting through T1W. T1W has to get reinforcements here. Time and Silver just barely touching the point. Now Illusion getting on, ushering the rest of it, but the self-destruction coming from above. The Transcendence trying to keep them alive. Illusion's the only one that's able to go down. Laboratory in control of the point. They have the player advantage here, but T1W still has the closer spawns on defense. Mello with all the unmitigated damage on this McCree, but is able to get killed until by Mullen in order to get put down easy. Now overtime for Laboratory. They have no more ultimates left. T1W, if they can get this Sombra back on with the EMP, that could be enough to stop them. An assassin with 1. Mello's still alive. Silver gets 1 onto SkyShow. A huge pick. Overtime away. Mello has to get a huge high noon here and is unable to get shut down by Assassin. T1W, now there's the EMP. It comes out. T1W able to weather the storm. They shut down Laboratory. And Laboratory is unable to complete the map. They had so much time to do it, Kenobi. But T1W, they are the only winner here.
Silver 3 comes back on that Reinhardt with the hero charge onto the point. The last second charge was able to get Skyshow on that Genji, but Assassin's there at the end playing out of his mind on that Brigitte was able to give McCree that whip shot that stopped that high noon because there was a Hashu in the backline about to hack the Reinhardt to get that shield down for that huge 4 or 5k high noon that we might have seen. But that whip shot from Assassin perfectly placed to get him out of that fight. And after that, they were able to continue to roll that point, and it looked like Laboratory after that really well played EMP into Nanoblade was going to be able to take that point, but the stall from Team W and the stopping and the defense just so good.
Yeah, what a play defensively wise here for T1W. I mean, really, it was, you know, timing, right? Like Laboratory took very long to like get their pushes going. They were getting cut down again before the fights really got anywhere. They had a McCree in the high ground, couldn't, clean things up with the high noon. The EMPs weren't landing on everybody. They got bodied by a charging Reinhardt. Really, T1W completely in control here up against Lab.
Yeah, and here we're going to be seeing a replay of this perfectly executed ultimate combo here, the EMP into the self-destruct. It's a tale as old as Time Rapture. But on the defensive side now, for offensive side rather, for T1W, looks like they're going to a more divey composition again, where on defense, Laboratory, I mean, if it ain't broke, I guess don't fix it is their motto, as they're going to be sticking with this triple DPS, Hammond, Zarya, solo support since on that.
I feel like their team is Laboratory, right? So they should be experimenting more. Like, they have a banana in a beaker as their logo, okay? Like, there should be way more going on here, and Laboratory is really just kind of sticking to this one composition here, trying to force it through on T1W, and T1W is letting it happen. Like, all right, you want to keep running this, certainly works for us, and T1W now already on the point, clobbering Laboratory here at 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. Skyshow already below 100 HP, really can't maintain themselves on the point because they're so low, and that means it's gonna be harder for them to actually get kills. Trying to dash reset off the point itself, but Assassin's right there with the right click, knocks him out, and now just like that, T1W already have a third of the point Kenobi.
And there you see, like, whenever we're seeing the supports and we're seeing their POVs, you see everyone on T1W is critical. They're just all so low, but the supports from T1W are doing such a good job, and now you have the Brigitte as well to start to sort of CC those flanker DPS as well as give some healing of your own. So I really like the fact that Assassin has switched over to this Brigitte. Gives you some more sustain, gives you some burst healing, as well as that CC ability.
Yeah, but this is where Laboratory was last time, right? There's like an immense amount of time on the clock, and resources to work with. Let's see what T1W has to pull out of their pocket up on this one. So you're already getting aggressive, not waiting and hesitating to get the high ground, right? They're immediately pushing into the background too. They're trying to rotate. Skyshow, though, in combination with the EMP, using their Dragon Blade to try and clean up T1W as they push up onto the point. And it's working out. T1W falls right into their trap. Skyshow gets one. Hashi and the Hammond, their Seeds picking up kills. Bin's getting on the tail end of the fight, getting one of their own. And T1W, and they pretty much their damage dealers go down earlier in the fight. The supports can't sustain throughout the rest, and Laboratory get the team fight win.
You do take that, though, if you are T1W in this moment. You did forced out the EMP and you forced out the Dragon Blade as well. Didn't get the Nano, unfortunately, but T1W forced out those two huge DPS ults, and T1W here really has to win about 1 or 2 fights to get this point. They don't have to get the entire point since Laboratory wasn't able to complete the map, so they just need that 92.4% to win this.
Been sitting on the Graviton, lets it loose, but I think it got pushed back or fell off and didn't realize that he was just going to fall off the high ground, so there's no follow-up whatsoever. T1W is like, all right, so we're just going to push a point and kill you then, and get a bunch of kills, barely burning anything. I think Molenron threw down an EMP, and Laboratory fell right into it. Now just need a few of the last third left. T1W will get this map here. Laboratory's falling left and right. The reinforcements are trying to join in. They're going to use this Hammond and the Diva to stall to get the rest of the point. The rest of the team on the point here. The T1W has Wyatt still alive, uses that mini health pack to get back in. Is at like 21 HP. T1W is just knocking Laboratory off the point, just trying to dislodge them. They don't even want to necessarily win the fight. They just want to literally get them off of it so they can cap it as we just go past that 5-minute mark here. Laboratory, they lose their Sombra, and they don't have any ultimates here to burn. They're getting closer and closer to DPS ultimates, but they still have to deal with Silver, who's still alive as his main tank. There's the Dragon Blade, and they will be able to reflect and get rid of that Diva. Hash also getting one. Mello finds Silver. Assassin, though, takes out Skyshow, and they're so close to getting this point, Kenobi, and they have so much time, even if this fight doesn't do it. T1W should be able to confirm it. Laboratory are just getting bodied, and the Hammond doesn't have enough to stay alive the rest of this team. And even Sky Show can't rejoin the fight in time with the Doomfist. There it is, T1W picking up a third map in a row against Laboratory. Now they're up 3-0 in their first matchup here in Contenders China Season 3.
Yeah, and I really want to highlight the support players here coming out from T1W. They've just been playing so well against a composition where if you're playing that in solo queue yourself, you're like, oh gosh, I'm gonna get dough, I'm gonna get just melted every single time. But they're playing with such great patience and great awareness. As we saw, the Zarya on the high ground use that graviton from the side of Laboratory there, but the perfectly timed Lucio sound barrier as well as the boop to boop the Zarya off and not allow them to have any of the follow-up damage that they needed. And after that, it was just a matter of time when the stall was coming out for the side of T1W to win that point. So really got to give it to the support players. And, you know, from Illusions and Waya, they're bit fragging a little bit, not only in the support play, but Waya has been fragging a little bit on that Zenyatta too. So both of these support players for T1W playing really, really well.
Yep, and of course that means T1W has officially taken the set, but we will go to a map 4. Map differential is a big important factor here.
Every map matters.
Every map matters. So now it's a situation of can T1W 4-0 or can Laboratory steal a map win away from them, which could, you know, have consequences later in the season. We'll find out though on the other end of this break. Don't go anywhere. Map 4 will be coming up between T1W and Laboratory here at Broadcast.gg. So keep your Twitch tuned in to this channel. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. right, welcome back everybody to our fourth and final map of match 1. It is T1W versus Laboratory, and it is a 3-0 lead here for T1W in our first match going into map 4 Dorado. I am Rapture, still here with Kenobi, bringing you some more Chinese Contenders Season 3 2018 here at Broadcast.gg. Kenobi, it's Dorado. You think T1W has what it takes to get the 4-0?
I think they definitely have what it takes, and it looks like actually T1W has subbed in Micha back into this lineup for Assassin, and which is an interesting decision because Dorado is one of those maps where you usually favor that hit scan DPS, you know, either the Widow or the McCree, but it looks like they're just going to be sticking to their guns and putting their Doomfist specialist on this map. Might catch Laboratory off guard here, but I'm interested to really see if Mello stays on this Widowmaker. We saw some flashes of brilliance from him earlier in this series, so let's see if he can do it again here on Dorado, a map where he can definitely shine.
Yeah, Laboratory, slight modifications to the composition. Bins, their Zarya player going over to the Bree again. Mello back on that Widowmaker. Whereas, T1W staying to pretty much what they've been running as well. A Silver, though, on the Genji instead of the Winston this time. And already getting that first kill. That switch paying off here finds Mello. And so Laboratory, just like that, already losing control of the payload here.
Great dive there coming out from Silver 3, who is on the Genji. Interesting decision there. We don't really see the main tank playing a Genji, but Silver 3, it's China. We play whatever. We flex to whatever. And Silver 3 showing with that dive onto Mello there that he knows what his stuff about Genji.
Yeah, and T1W going for this one tank competition with a 3 DPS and 2 supports. So slightly changing it up. From
I can do better is basically what T1W is saying.
Exactly. And Laboratory, I mean, they can't even get out of spawn. They're trying to go down to the low ground to try and get a little bit of a rotation on T1W, but T1W sniffs that out immediately, and Laboratory again shut down. They are going to put some pressure on the back line, but T1W just easily flexes back and lets them come to them. And now they have SkyShow putting on some harassment on the back right, or on the right side high ground here. That gets the attention of the Doomfist, who jumps right in. That's fall back though to help that Zarya bubble. But Laboratory does get control of the payload, but at the cost of about a minute and a half.
And it looks like here, Voya goes down. That's actually a huge pick, but the backline is getting dove on from the side of T1W, and Laboratory is going in, but maybe just a little bit too far from Micha here. And this is just a scrappy fight overall. T1W getting very close to that Nano Blade. Laboratory as well. It's going to be a battle of who can get theirs out first, and if the EMPs are going to be there to be able to stop it.
Well, that's the thing, is the Hash is behind an EMP game from Molanron, and Misha is about to have the Meteor Strike as well. So, I mean, T1W has so many burst options up against Laboratory they can use here. And High B going in, there's Silver 3 with the Dragon Blade, and he's just, cutting things down. It's almost just too easy for Laboratory to get cut down here. The Sombra will get the hack on the Silver. He goes down to 53 HP, falls back though. Now T1W still control. They have this Hammond rushing them down. And the Ana might even get down to, but the Ana gets knocked back to him, and he sees can't get the kill, but then does get grapples Illusion there, putting it right through their heart, and Laboratory does get control at that point with big kills from Seeds, and since they are able to distract T1W's Doomfist and the Sombra long enough to shut them down, but then Molanron gets back into the fray with the EMP. T1W in control of the payload with the help of this Transcendence, and Laboratory is going to get pushed back.
Another clutch EMP coming out there from Molanron at the end. They were able to stop that and get that EMP. Laboratory wasn't able to use any of their offensive abilities that they had. They had the Dragon Strike and the Meteor Strike again, but a really good placed EMP from Molanron, who's been doing it this entire series, able to stop that. And they're able to stop it very close to that payload. That could have been a point easily taken for Laboratory.
Yeah, and now we're below that minute mark as SkyShow uses the Dragon Blade, but gets grabbed, and he can't deflect it in time. A huge loss there for Laboratory. They lose their Genji and Doomfist, who was about to have Meteor Strike as well. And they've lost so much off of that, and some time to boot. T1W not only gets the win, but they have Silver, who just got Dragon Blade as well.
Yeah, and Illusion's very close, getting pretty close to that. Nano as well. And then Mello is actually going to use this, the Meteor Strike to kill Misha, who was slept. I mean, if, that's the best way to do it, just get that kill secured right at the start. That was overkill.
I mean, I guess that's one way to set your alarm clock right there with the Meteor Strike. Mello, though, trying to chase down the Zarya with the Nano Boost and does get the kill, confirms it. All right, so Laboratory, a little bit of a wedge under the doorway here, but can T1W hold on before this checkpoint gets completed? They should be able to recontest here in time, but will they have the numbers to actually keep the fight going? We'll see.
Nano Blade ready.
Yeah, Nano Blade's ready. Silver gets Nano boosted. Here comes the Dragon Blade looking for kills. And Binz goes right down. The Hammond also almost getting slaughtered, but Tashi. Siege also gets cut down. Laboratory literally body. 4 go down immediately. T1W in full control. Overtime ticking away. And Kenobi, I think it's unfortunate. We're not going to see the entirety of Dorado here because we barely make it to that first checkpoint. T1W setting themselves up for the map 4 win here to take out Laboratory one more time as they shut them down at the fountain.
And Laboratory was very close to actually getting through that first point, only about maybe a meter or two away from getting to that last checkpoint. But again, the ultimates here from T1W have just been so good so far. And also, can we just talk about how Silver 3 actually looked pretty decent on Genji? That Nano Blade at the end looks pretty good. That's your main tank right there. We usually used to see on Moss 7 Club, they would usually switch their main tank over to the DPS role or just to flex on anything. But here, Silver 3 showing his worth on that Genji, a pick we really might not have thought we would see.
Yeah, well, as we all know, Winston's evolved into Genji, so it makes sense.
Do you think the skills carry over from Winston to Genji?
I think so. Well, I know the EVs carry over, the nature and ability carries over. You got to use the cybernetic stone, and you get the Genji. So I think they pop that. T1W realizes why not use it at this point. Laboratory, they're trying to experiment. Why don't we experiment a little bit here? And Laboratory now are pretty much in one of the worst situations you could be in. So much so that SkyShow might be using Torb on defense.
New Torb though, new Torb. So
new Torb, yeah.
This is new Torbjorn, so you do have the ability here. You have the ability to throw your turret a little bit of distance, so you don't have to really just sit by it and start pounding at it with your hammer. It'll just eventually all just go to tier 2 automatically. It did get a little bit of a nerf in health, only 250 health now, but you do have this ability to just put your turret basically anywhere you want. So the mobility of the turret, definitely something I'm interested to see how SkyShow is going to be playing with this with this Torbjorn, as we're going to be seeing just a quad DPS composition right here. Laboratory just doubling down on the DPS play here.
Yeah, I don't know how this will work out for Laboratory, but you know, and I think there was some talk earlier about, you know, the Tor possibly showing up on like defense and Numbani. Dorado, though, we'll see how it works out for them. And otherwise, Laboratory not changing up too much. I mean, they're literally running Tor with 3 DPS. I mean, this is literally one of the wonkiest compositions I've really ever seen from Laboratory, or really any team like ever. T1W, though, I think kind of giving them the answer that Lab probably expected to their composition, which is death. So now T1W just easily kind of moseying their way through the first phase of Dorado. That fountain is getting met here by the payload. 3 minutes and change on the clock. Binz has still yet to get an actual shot on this Widowmaker. They do have ultimate, so they will get some eyes on the inside portion of the right side of this map here as T1W is trying to push up around the payload to get some leverage on the backside of Lab. But Binz does pick up Lijiang, and High B is going to get knocked into the air there by the Hammond, but we'll get boosted
Clutch
up.
Nano.
That great Nano there. And Illusion also throwing out a great biotic as well. Laboratory just there's so much health to chew through. T1W is just so much. A big bite that Lab is now actually able to bite off here. Those
we got it.
Doing double duty here. Mello with a great pulse bomb. And they are able to get some kills. Wire, though, just headshots him right there. Since able to get the cleanup, though. But T1W pretty much doing most of the work they need to do here and still have a bunch of time on the clock to push this through.
And some ultimates coming out for them, and really T1W has to start respecting Binz here on this Widowmaker. He's in the backline on top of the archway, just pumping out as much free headshots and free shots as he wants. It looks like Silver 3 is going to try and flank around to try and get him, but they need to put some respect on the name of Binz here, who has been hitting his shots pretty decently on that Widow.
Put some respect on his name out here. But, I mean, really what needs to happen for Lab, they got to hit this EMP. Hashi really needs to hit a big EMP here. They have other ultimates, but will they be as game-changing as this EMP? I'm not entirely sure. Binz gets an early kill onto Silver. Mija, though, on Since, though, that's a 5v3 situation now for T1W before any ultimates really get burned here. And now Lab, yeah, they're going to have to fall back, but they don't have, I mean, they really can't afford to be giving up any time or room because T1W is literally at the checkpoint. A Graviton thrown down. It's almost overkill. Hash is the only one to get cleaned up. Also, the turret going down to High B. Here's the main tank, Hammond, with those minefield there, and High B's the only one that actually gets caught out, and now Lab just letting this slip through their, not even letting it slip through their fingers, they're barely able to hold on here. T1W cutting down the Seeds player Hammond, Since also going down. And that's it here, Kenobi. T1W takes it very convincingly. A 4-0 win over Lab. A very strong start, taking 4 maps as they should to kick things off here in Contenders Season 3.
And T1W smashes the beakers of Laboratory. Laboratory, though, I'm very impressed with what they were able to run here and run it pretty decently. They just went up against a team that was just a little bit better than they were today on the day. But I'm really, interested to see how they continue to play with these compositions, with these 3 DPS, with these 4 DPS. It seems like they're definitely ready to innovate and try and bring something new to the meta. It didn't work today, but there were some flashes from all of these players that shows that they can definitely be maybe a little bit of a dark horse. And now that we know more about them, I'm definitely really excited to see what else they're going to be bringing through these next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad we just have another team like this in the group, right? That is willing to experiment with some fun comps.
Like there's this,
something that might be crazy.
There's this in BTRG. Like both these teams just play whatever they want. There's 29 heroes in the game. Just play whatever you want. Play with you're comfortable with, and maybe you'll catch your opponent off guard.
Absolutely. This is just the first of 3 matches today. But before we get to those 2 other matches, we have to throw it back over to the desk. Blank, I know you want to take it away from us, so why don't you let us know what you thought about that 4-row set?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty good, right? It's pretty amusing to watch. Like comps mean nothing, picks mean absolutely nothing as well. It's just you just do what you want. It was impressive. I mean, Silver on the main tank goes over the Genji, tries to 1v1 Bins, who's just been flexing all game long. The man's got incredible flexing muscles. But yeah, it was an interesting. I think Hanamura is the one we had the most notes for. I guess Dorado is a bit of a weird one to talk about. But yeah, I think Hanamura, the main thing we saw there, guys, was that it's a similar story to Lijiang Tower, where the composition that Lab likes to run a lot. They run it for pretty much the entire 3 maps, right? They struggle to take space with it. And Albion, I know you were looking at this composition, and the momentum just got completely crushed.
Yeah, we mentioned it on Lijiang Tower, where they weren't able to really retake with this comp, and it really showed on their Hanamura defense. Laboratory managed to get the early kill on the Sombra, and despite that early pick, they couldn't win the fight, and T1W was able to still win out and take the first point in under a minute. The composition just doesn't have any ability to actually sustain themselves on point with only that one support, of course, and without really any way to actually block damage. And it also showed on their offense where, even once they switched to the McCree and they had a McCree on the high ground, they didn't have what it took to actually close at the point. And again, they ended up on 97%. And, the N on the high ground instead of a Zen, maybe if you had 2 supports and you're actually able to play Zenyatta and have that Discord to actually close out the map, maybe this would have been a different series. But the way that they were playing it, the composition has a lot of big issues taking space and specifically closing out fights where you don't just pop off on Genji or pop off on Doomfist.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, they got in the positions they wanted to, but they just couldn't hold those positions when it came down to it. There were just some strange things coming out all over the place, and I think T1W did a really, really good job at preventing a lot of these pushes, preventing the momentum. And one major part where it was shut down was on that point A push from Lab on Hanamura. Val's, we saw the team basically get back onto the point with about 0.1% remaining on the point. The entire team managed to get back on as the monkey leaps there. I think that this was a real big turning moment for T1W.
Yeah, absolutely. It was cutting it as fine as they could. We contested at 99.7% cap. What, half a second late to contest, and you've given away point A. So
yeah,
definitely cutting the margins a bit closely there, but it did pay off. It did pay off in the end. Even though they eventually lost point A, they dragged out the fight to eat away a lot of time, and they built up a lot of ult charge for themselves as well. So they had a much better chance moving into point B of stopping the snowball, bringing out some of their own ults, maybe taking away some of the ultimates from the offense as well. Level out the playing field a bit when you're at risk of giving away a huge momentum burst like that. And the composition Lab was running, where you have this Doomfist main tank dive, we know how much that thrives on momentum. So being able to stall out point A for as long as he did, build up some of the ultimates, puts him in a good position for point A, that was necessary in the long run to be able to slow down Laboratory's offense.
Yeah, and just to close out our analysis here, Albion, before we got cut off on halftime, we had to do some resyncing. There was a few technical difficulties here and there. We were talking about the Zarya bubbles, and I think in this meta in particular, it's something that we got to talk about early. Is Zarya bubbles have become so incredibly important with all the new hard CC introduced to the game now, and McCree becoming more into the fore, where you can play this Brig McCree combo, which is just a nightmare to dive against. You absolutely need those bubbles, and mistiming them can be really crucial. We saw that happen to Lab a few times. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so right now, it doesn't really matter what composition you're playing. There is always hard CC that you need to be dealing with. And whether you're playing, a very traditional standard kind of 3-3 goats, or whether you're playing, Brig McCree, or you have Sombra Dive, there's always something that is going to be specifically interrupting the Doomfist. And it's going to be making Doomfist life really hard. And when Lab is really dedicated to playing as much Hammond as they were, Hammond's life is also going to be very hard. And as much as Reddit likes to complain about the CC in the game right now, there is a tool to deal with that CC, and it is those Zarya bubbles. And it's realistically the only tool. And when they're using it too early, like they were, and Lab is throwing in their Doomfist, but the bubble has already been broken, it becomes really easy for him to start getting picked off. And when you're not actually getting value out of that Doomfist engage, when you've kind of put yourself onto this composition where you're dedicated to letting Zarya enable the Doomfist. And the Zarya herself doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, we saw it on Dorado. The Zarya is running around trying to kill Torbjorn turrets on 0 energy because you don't get any energy in that comp. You don't get to play and have fun on Zarya in that comp. You're a bubble bot. And if you're not getting something out of that because you're mistiming and you're throwing it too early, the bubble just breaks, you might as well be swapping heroes.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough indeed. It was pretty prophetic. And I think Val's mentioned it was like having 2 laser pointers instead of 1. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Like the bubbles were there. Silver on the Genji, of course, played pretty well. One thing we can mention though, before we clean this series up, is that one of the support players from Lamp wasn't able to play today, which is probably why they were so dedicated to this mono heal composition, because they just didn't have the support player on the team with them. So we might see some different composition in the future. How many compositions did they play again, Vals? I think you were keeping count.
In theory, I counted 8 different compositions, but almost all of them involve Sky Show on Genji. They all, apart from the one Mercy swap and Numbani, Hash was playing Sombra. So it's all the same principle. It's interesting that they were running this because they had a support player unavailable today. I think even then, you kind of just bite the bullet, get one of your DPS or flex support players to pick up the Zenyatta for the day and run something a bit more traditional. So even though they were missing Kaguya and they had to commit to only running 1 actual support player, I think you've still got to bite the bullet and pull out the double support, even triple support. The fact they were so committed to the solo heal composition does tell us a little bit more about the way they like to play than maybe just, they only had 1 healer, so they had to run something funky. Would suggest.
Oh, we have to do it now.
This was probably still in their game plan at the very least, so it's something to watch forward for. But I don't think you can discount it all down just to, Kaguya couldn't play today, so they had to come up with this.
And that really is kind of our only concern for Lab going into the future season, because realistically, they surprised us today. T1W did complete the 4-0, but I think the 4-0 scoreline doesn't really give away how kind of tight, especially the Numbani was. And realistically, I think they caught T1W off guard a little bit with that composition, but they caught us off guard as well. And they did look really good on it. I think they showed that, especially, some of their Doomfist Genji play, they can stick up there and they can, play into people like Mija, and they can hang tight. So when they are able to get their second support player back in and maybe play some other styles and not be kind of so stuck on a composition that does have some pretty significant flaws, maybe they'll actually be really surprising. And in this group, the 4th place seed and getting into the playoffs, right, is actually kind of open right now. There are 3 teams that aren't maybe the strongest, and Lab, who knows? Maybe they take that spot. Maybe they're a playoffs contender now.
Maybe they're able to cook something up in the laboratory. We don't know. Hopefully they can channel this aggressive style, like you say, into the latter of the season, hone their blade, as it were, maybe buy a shield as well, as they were lacking a defensive composition. But this is a good start from them overall. But now we are going to throw it over to our Season 2 recap made by Morai. They've put a lot of effort into this, so I hope you guys do enjoy. And we'll catch you guys very, very shortly for the next matchup.
Season 2 of Contenders China began with one thing in mind for most teams: defeat Lucky Future Zenith. Their dominant performance throughout the first season put them as the likely favorites to capturing a second title, and for good reason. Their all-star Korean roster was unmatched in most areas, where other teams seemed to fall slightly behind in one facet or another. This was explained further when group play began. Group A held a very dense top shelf of some of China's best teams, housing the likes of T1W Esports, Lijiang Esports, and Lucky Future Zenith, whereas Group B was a rat race up until the last match to even be considered for a playoff berth. Interestingly enough, only 3 new teams found their way to the next checkpoint in Season 2, Hero Tactica and Panther, Flag Gaming, and Moss 7 Club. The rest of the playoff field was returning teams from the previous season of Contenders, the likes of which included Lucky Future Zenith, T1W Esports, Team CC, LGD Gaming, and Lijiang Esports. The upper half of the playoff bracket played out as intended. Lucky Future Zenith dominated Hero Tactica and Panther, and T1W Esports took a convincing 3-0 victory over Team CC. The lower half, however, would prove to be a bit more challenging. Lijiang Esports always seemed to find LGD Gaming deep into their tournament runs, and the two teams would periodically trade games amongst themselves, but this time it would be LGD Gaming who would advance to the semifinals.
This offense, it's crazy. I leave it to the Doomfist. They've shot them through. LGD might do it, and they do. The VIP box has been filled, and LGE have been silenced and shut down.
The final quarterfinal match held the 2 dark horses of the entire event, Flag Gaming and the ever-creative Moss 7 Club. After a grueling 5-game series, the consistent beat the creative, and Flag Gaming would sneak their way into the semifinals.
Right now trying to steal up on the point, uses the fade, now she's vulnerable. You can see the Tracer hunting her down. Coldest picks that one up, Jason picks up another one, and Flag Gaming have done it. They have advanced to the semifinals, the underdogs in this matchup.
Many tournaments tend to fall prey to the problem that the semifinals oftentimes tell a better story than the grand finale, and Season 2 Overwatch Contenders China was no different. While LGD Gaming trounced Flag Gaming in the lower half of the bracket, T1W Esports fell just short of interrupting Lucky Future Zenith's return to the top. As the only team to consistently take them to their limit, it would fall to LGD Gaming to act as the last bastion between Lucky Future and their Zenith. LGD Gaming struggled all season with consistency issues, and those same demons reared their ugly heads in the finals. With the metagame in a state of flux and their opponents suffering from their own internal dilemma, Lucky Future Zenith coasted to a 4-1 victory to capture their second Contenders title in a row. However, during the postseason, teams have changed some for the worse. After the exodus of talent for Overwatch League Season 2, there is a power vacuum in China. With the 2-time reigning champions Lucky Future Zenith absent from competition this season, who is going to fill the void they've left? Could it be one of the rookie teams looking to make a name for themselves? Or will the veteran Chinese talent lay claim to the open throne?